Alright, hi, continuing 62701, 310, approval of alternate procedure requirements. Let me adjust the view. I haven't been read this for about a month. I'm not sure which section this is. It's something, solid waste. Applicable to any person subject to provisions of this chapter, Chapter 62702 through 62722, may request a written determination. Secretary of the requirement shall not apply. Shall request an approval of alternate procedures or requirements. Criteria of the request shall set forth a minimum of the following information specific to the facility with the exemption is sought with the specific precision from which the exemption is sought, the basis for the exemption, and the alternate procedure requirement for which the approval is sought with the demonstrated for the alternate procedure requirement provided for the equal degree of protection with the bulk public and environmental demonstrated effectiveness of the proposed alternate procedure department order. The Secretary that is specified by order an alternate procedure requirement approved in accordance with the section shall issue the order denying the request for such approval. The department's order shall be an agency action renewal in accordance with the section 12569 and 125.7. Alternate sample procedures, alternative new field laboratory sampling analysis procedures shall be requested in accordance with Rule 6216430, 6216520, and 6216530 Florida Administration Codes. If real mechanism request the variance of specific statutory requirements may be made in pursuant to Section 403201 for State Statute Rule 62110-104 Florida Administration Codes. Request variance and waivers of the rules requirements may also be made with the pursuant Section 12542 Florida State Law and Rule 28104002 Florida Administration Code. Applications for research and development demonstrating permits may be pursuant to Section 403700715 Florida State Law. Shall be submitted with the Form 62701-932 application for the permit of the construction operate the restricted development demonstration facility effective January 6, 2010. Here adopted and incorporated the reference copy with this form is available for the local district office writing with the Department of Environmental Protection, Solid Waste Section MS 4565, 2600 Blairstone Road, Tallahassee, Florida 32399 2400. Request for the alternate procedure accompanied with the free specified in subsection 627015315.8 with the Florida Administration Code. Request must be submitted to the Director of the Division of Waste Management, 2600 Blair Stone Road, Twin Tower Office Building, Tallahassee, Florida 32399 2400. 7. To the extent that any extent with the alternate procedure requirement involving the practice of engineering geology, the request shall be signed with the seal with the professional engineer and professional geologist rule set authority 403087, 403704, 403707 Florida State Law, implemented 403087, 403704, 403777. History News, July 1st, 1985, amended December 12th, December 10th, 1985, formerly 1770778, 17701-078, amended January 6th, 1993, January 2nd, 1994, May 19th, 1994, formerly 17701-310, amended with May 27th, 2001, and January 6th, 2010. Alright, sorry I didn't load these up. I'm just going to go. Alright, 62701-315, permanent fees for solid waste management facilities. Notwithstanding the provision 6240504J, Florida Administration Code, the following fees should apply with the permanent application for the solid waste management fees facility. The provision paragraph 624.05040 through V, Florida Administration Codes continue to apply with such a permit, but the application fees and permanent modifications are established in subsection 62701-320 for Florida Administration Codes. 1. Construction permits, Class 1 landfills, $10,000. Class 3 landfills, $6,000. Manure and yard trash composting facility, $2,000. Solid waste composing facilities, $5,000. Offsite biomedical waste treatment, $2,000. All other solid waste facilities, $1,000. Operating permits, Class 1 landfill, $10,000. Class 3 landfill, $4,000. Manure and yard trash compositing facility, $1,000. Solid waste composting facility, $3,000. Offsite biomedical waste treatment facility, $1,000. All other solid waste facilities, $500 closure permits. 3A, Class 1 landfill, $7,500. Class 3 landfill, $4,000. Closed permit or landfill involves only long-term care, 10-year duration, 2,000 waste processing facility. Construction operating permit 2,000, renewing permit that does not involve additional construction 100, general permit for the indoor facilities 100, construction demolition and debris disposal facilities, construction operating closed and facilities including facilities also recycle 2,500, renewal permit that does not involve the additional construction 1,000, and renewal permit involving only long-term care 2,500, general permit of the yard trash disposal facility, mobile waste and processing facility 100, construction permit and operating permit with the facility that has multiple solid waste management components. Normally you would require individual solid waste permits. A single application must be submitted with the permit fee with the sum of the individual permits. Requests for alternate procedures: landfill 2,000, other 500, research development demonstration permits per year up to 3-year duration 1,000, groundwater monitoring plan approvals for landfills with no other department permit 500, transfer of permit 50 waste tire permits, construction operation waste tire processing facility 1,250, construction operation small waste styrene facility processing facility 500, waste tire collection 500. 13 fees for the permanent construction they operate closed for the issue for the period longer than 5 years shall be calculated as follows, and the fees listed in the section plus 20% of the fees listed in the section of each year of over 5 years for which the permit is sought. For example, the application of a 20-year permit for the land year, the operation would pay up to $40,000, $10,000 for each of the for the first 5 years, and plus 20% of the $10,000 for each of the additional 15 years. Application for the permits of more than 5 years may elect to pay the entire permit with the fee of the time of the application. Application may also elect to pay the fee listed above the time of the application. May make payments of 100% of the fee listed above every 5 years thereafter the duration of the permit. For example, the application for a 20-year permit of landfill operation could pay $40,000 at the time of the application, could pay $10,000 at the time of application, plus the $10,000 every 5 years thereafter until the time of the permit is renewal. The future amendments to the section result increase for the permit fees will not increase the fees applications until renewal permit for the permit modification is applied. Failure to make such a subsequent payment in a timely manner will be considered a violation of this rule, may subject to the application to enforcement action of the Department. Rule Authority 403.061, 403.087, 403.704, Florida law implemented 403.087, 403.702, 403.704, 403.707, 403.707.15. Florida State History News, May 27th, 2001, amended in January 6th, 2010, August 12th, 2012, and February 15th, 2015. All right. All right, 62, 701 through 320. Solid waste management facility permit requirements general. Permanent requirements except otherwise provided with the chapter. No solid waste management facilities be constructed, operated, maintained, modified, closed without a permanent issue by the department by any approval local program acting under the delegation agreement of the department. Exemptions except as provided in section 403.702. No permit under the chapter shall be required for the following activity facility for the purpose of subjection and disposal shall be deemed, including the storage prior to disposal and processing, disposal of the person's solid waste resulting from other activities other their own property, in such waste, ordinary household waste of the residential property, the rock, soil, trees, and trees remain of the vegetative manner normally result from the land development operation of on the property, disposal of materials that could create a property nuisance. Public nuisance are adversely affected for the environmental public health, such as white goods, automotive materials, including batteries, tires, petroleum products, pesticides, solvents, hazardous substances not covered under this exemption. Disposal of the persons, solid waste resulting of their own activity of their property, the environmental effects of such disposal, groundwater, surface of water, areas addressed, authorized inside of the certification issued in Chapter 403, Part 2 of the Florida State Law, electrical power plants, stating that addressing authorized with the permit issued with the department, including the solid waste management permits, other environmental permits modified to include the conditions of the proper disposal address, and the authorized specifically exempt by the requirement to obtain the groundwater monitoring plan approved by the department. On-site disposal of the construction, demolition, debris provided with the disposable conforms with the subsection 62701-730 with the 17 Florida Administration Code. Disposal of solid waste resulting from the normal farming operation, storage solid waste containing the property that is owned, rented, lease of the person was generated with the waste of their own activities occupied with their property. The solid waste of such containers collected at least 1 week. Disposal of the person production solid waste resulting of their own activities on their own property if the waste of the disposal occurred before October 1st, 1988. Irresponsible application in addition with the provision of subsection 624.07045 to determine whether the application provided with the responsible assurance that the department standards will be met. The department shall consider repeated violation applicable to statute rules and orders of permanent conditions caused by the permanent application of October 1988 relating to this operation solid waste management facility in the state of the application is deemed irresponsible for the purpose of the subsection. The following words have the following meanings. Irresponsible means the application owned is operated with the solid waste management facility in the state, including the transportation equipment and mobile processing equipment used for the behalf of the applicant, which is subject to the state and federal notice of the violation, judicial action, criminal prosecution, activity for the Constitution, violations, Chapter 403, Florida State law, statute with the rules promulgated here and there under could have prevented with the violation, responsible compliance with the department rules for the modification of the permit. A permit shall be modified in accordance with the requirements of 624.080 Florida Administration Code. The modification which does not require substantial technical evaluation. The department does not require a new site inspection. The department is not accepted to leave the substantial different environmental impacts with less than the impacts of the original permit is considered the minor defect. Minor modification of the fee for the set of the paragraph 624.050 Florida State statutes. The modification was responsibly accepted for the substantial different environmental impacts which require detailed review, but the department is considered substantial modification. The fee of which is set forth in subsection 624.0507 Florida Administration Code. The modification which is responsibly accepted for the least substantial different environmental impacts which requires the less detailed review does not substantially modification considered the intermediate modification of the fee of which is the 1.5 of the required substantial modification of the permanent application. The applications for the solid waste management facility shall be submitted with the appropriate department forms listed in the chapter Rule 62701-900 Florida Administration Code. The Department District Office of the jurisdiction where facility is located with the Tallahassee office as appropriate with the minimum of one electronic copy of the application, engineering plans, the report, all supporting information proposed with the construction, substantial modification, operation, closure of the facility shall be provided to the department. The department shall execute the application with requirements to submit the application electronically with all the applicant files with the request of the department requesting to excuse with the electronic submission requirements of view the technological hardship. If any of the application is excused for the submitting of the application electronically, then the application shall submit at least one paper copy of the entire application for the department. B. Information for every application shall be sufficient detail to show how the facility was constructed, operated with the closed, and how to monitor and maintain after the closure in order to comply with the requirements of the chapter combining the facilities and application for the permit. The construction operated with the solid waste management facility having multiple solid waste management components which in the standing alone would require the solid waste management facility permit should include all information required to be submitted with the head. Each of the components be proposed for the separate facility independent of the other component. Such information must make common and otherwise presented with the avoided with duplicated repetitive submittals. In addition, with all the application should be accompanied with such fee and require each of the facility component. In 6, engineering required record professional certification. All engineer plans, reports, information submitted supporting the application shall be complied by the engineer record which should be responsible for the assurance of the technical components that have been prepared under the direction, supervision, signed and sealed with the professional registered in Florida, and each of the contribution, technical discipline, the engineer record signature seal of the application shall assure the appropriate technical professional discipline within has been employed in the development of the application. The application provided with the engineer of the record with a another qualified person working under the supervision engineering record shall periodic inspection during the construction of the facility to ensure that design integrity maintained. 7. Application content and format. The application for the permit to construct, operate, modify, and close the solid waste management facility should include the following sequence: A. A letter of application transmittal. B. The completed application for the date and signed by the applicant. C. The permit fee specified with the Rule 62701-315 of the Florida Administration Code and check and money order payable to the department. D. An engineering report addressing the requirements for this rule shall 1. Contain the cover sheet stating the project title, the location, application name, engineer name, the address, signature, date of the signature, and seal. 2. Have a text printed on an 8.5 by 11-inch consecutive numbered pages contained with the table of content index describing the body with the report and appendixes. 4. Include the body with the report and all appendixes. E. The appendixes submitted with the engineering report submitted with the permit application should contain with the required applicable sections of the rule on operation planning closure plan appropriate with the title, type of the facility, the contingency plan for the compliance with the subsection 16 in the section illustrated charts for the graph. 4. Records of log and test oil borings, hydrogeological information, chemical surveys, water quality analysis, engineer calculations, including literature citations. Plans of the drawing for all solid waste management facilities shall be used as 22 inches, 34 inches, or 24 inches by 36 inches. Include title blocks, have cover sheet, include the project title, application name sheet, index, legend of symbols, engineer's name, address, signature, and date of signature and seal. Include the regional map of the plan showing the project location relations of the major roads and population centers. Include the vicinity map aerial photography taken within 1 year. Proceed with the application showing the facility site and relevant surface features located within 1,000 feet of the facility, having a site plan showing location of all property boundaries certified by the Florida licensed professional survey and mappers, and clearly show all the necessary details numbered and entitled with reference for the native of the report drawings and containing the north arrow horizontal vertical scales shall specify with the drafting originating dates all evaluations of reference to the constitute nationally recognized datum. Latitude, longitude data should include representing approximate center of the waste disposal processing area. Shall include the method of the data was collected using the following: field name, object interest, relationship with the point of the object of the interest, collection method, the collection date, datum, also known as the feature of the proximity to method and date, description of the objection, point of the representation, identity is how to close the plan for the actual object of interest, the method used to collect the point, the date of the point was collected, the reference measuring the location on the earth surface, the documentation of the application, either the owner of the property, legal authorization for the property owner for the use of the site for the solid waste management facilities owned operated by the county, description of the existing proposed with the recycling facilities activities of any of the site of the description, whether the extent to which of the recycling facility activities will contribute to the county's activity achievement of the waste reduction recycling goals contained in the section 403-706 Florida State Law for the purpose of the evaluation required in subsection 3 of the section history description and any enforcement actions description subsection with this section related with the solid waste management facilities in the state. Notice of application. Application for the permit construction of the substantial modified with the solid waste management facility shall publish provided with the proof of the publication of the Department of Notice of the approval in the newspaper's general circulation. The name of the area of the facility will be located. The notice shall conform with the requirements of Rule 62, 110, 106, except for the Florida Administration Code, except for the notice shall be published within 14 days of submittal with the permit of the application of the department. Application permit with the construction substantial modified the class 1 or 3 landfill shall mail the notice the application to the chair of the board of the county commissioner, the highest ranking elected for the official municipality each of the state and the center represented serve as the jurisdiction with the property located. Notices shall be made within 14 days of the submittal with the application of the department proof of the mailing which shall be provided with the department, and after the department completes the permit the review, the department shall send a copy of the notice intent issued to deny the permit of the same of these to the same officials. Permit the construction modification operation closure to complete the permitted application for the construction operation solid waste management facility renewal of the operation permit with existing facility modification existing facility or closure of the facility shall be evaluated with respect to the department district offices in accordance with 62.4 and 62.701 Florida Administration Code. The department shall 1. Issue the construction permit, a construction operation permit for the solid waste management facility for a substantial modification of existing solid waste management facility. Issue an operation permit for the new facility that has been satisfactorily constructed in order to the existing facility with being operated in accordance with the chapter at the time of the permit renewal. 3. Issuers closure of the permit for the closing and long-term care of the landfill complies with the requirements 62.701, 600, and 620. Deny the issue of the permit is responsibility assurance is not provided with requirements 62.4 and 62.701 Florida Administration Codes will be satisfied. After all specified construction have been completed before acceptance for any of the solid waste, the engineer record shall certify the department permitted with the construction complete. It was done in accordance with the plans from the department except for the minor deviation from the necessary certification submitted with the form 62.701 902. The certification construction completion of the solid waste management facility effective May 19, 1994 hereby adopted and incorporated reference copies of the forms available with local district office writing with the Department of Environmental Protection Solid Waste Section MS number 4565 2600 Blair Stone Road, Tallahassee, Florida 32399 for 2400 finals report required subsection 62701 400 Florida Administration Codes as well as any of the reports required with the subparagraph 62701 403 and D and 10 and 62 701 403 F and 5. Florida Administration Code submitted with the certification all deviations of the described in detailed reason for the enumerated with the permit shall not accept the solid waste facility until the following has occurred. The department shall has stated in writing that there is no objection to the certification construction or completion that at least 30 days have been passed for the certification submitted submitted with the department has not been responded to writing the certification. So in addition with the above requirements, the department should not accept a solid waste facility under the construction operation permit. Operation permit has been issued with the permit. Permit duration shall be as follows for any of the facility latch hit control system applied for the operation construction permit with the renewal of existing operation construction permit without after October 1st, 2012, with up to 20 years for any of the facility without the latch hit control of the meets of the requirements subsection 403, 707, 3 say Florida State statutes up to 10 years for the closure departments authorizing on long-term care of the landfills up to 10 years for the other permits up to 5 years. 10. Permanent renewals. The renewal application shall be timely and sufficient with the renewal application submitted prior to the 60 days before the expiration. Existing permit is considered a timely sufficient. Renewal application submitted with a later date will not be considered timely and sufficient until it is submitted but made complete with the prior expiration due. Existing permit with the application renewal with the timely sufficient with the existing permit shall remain in effect with the renewal application has been filed with the act put on the department otherwise provided with the subsection with section 102 120 60 Florida State law. Application with the permit renewals to demonstrate how they will comply with the applicable new and revised law rules relating to construction, operation, closure with the solid waste management facility closure plans will be updated at least once every 5 years to reflect the changes of the closure design, long-term care, or the financial assurance requirements. See, the facility information was submitted with the department to support the expiring permit, which is still valid. It does not need to be resubmitted with the permit. The permanent renewal application shall be listed and reaffirm the information is still valid. 11. Permit to transfer. Any person wishing to transfer the permit shall submit with the request of Form 62701-908 the permit transfer form, the Florida rules or gateway, the reference ASBA number, the reference 05030, effective February 15, 2015. Adopted and incorporated the reference copy of this material available for the local district office providing the Department of Environmental Protection and Solid Waste and MS 4565 2600 Blairstone Road, Tallahassee, Florida 32399 2400. The form has been completed with the signature of the both permit and proposed new permittee. A transfer permit is required only upon the sale of the transfer of the facility. The transfer permit is required with the different person takes ownership of the control of the facility. Transfer permit is not required with the facility, simply change the names, although the permit must not notify the department of such a change with using the 62701-908. The transfer of the permit is not required with the solely result of the sale of stock assets or change of the operating personnel as long as the ownership of the control of the facility has not changed. The permit may apply with the permit transfer prior to the sale and the change of the control of the facility, but the permit transfer shall not be effective prior to the sale of the change of the control. So the proposed new permit shall provide with reasonable assurance that it has ability to comply with the conditions existing permit their own property of the legal authorization of property owners to use the site that meets the annual any financial assurance requirements of the permit applicable rules. Within 30 days of the receipt application for the permit transfer, the department shall additional information. If the application is not complete within 30 days of the receipt of the complete application, the department shall either approve or deny the permit transfer. The department determination shall be based solely on the evaluation requirements in paragraph A through C. Above, the department fails to take the action above the approve or deny the transfer in 30 days received. The completion application transfer shall be deemed approved. Until the transfer is approved, the department of the permit and any other person constructing, operating, maintaining permit of the facility shall liability comply with the term of the permittee section with the transfer of the permit shall remain liable for the corrective action that may be required to result in any of the violations occurring with the prior to the sale, legal transfer of the facility existing permit under the continuing application of corrective actions as a result of the department enforcement action consistent order to the permit and not be transferred until the proposed permit agrees and in writing accepting the responsibility of performing such corrective actions. If a financial assurance disclosure is required with the permit being transferred, the existing permit shall maintain the financial assurance with the department of approval. The transfer is final. The proposed new permit shall also provide financial assurance before the transfer is provided with the department identification number. The department shall be identified as an identification number to use each of the solid waste management facilities received. The permit the number shall be unique. The facility shall remain assigned with the facility at all times. The identification number shall be used on all correspondence records related to the facility. Airport safety applicability subsection is applies to solid waste management constructed after the January 6, 1993, as well as the lateral expansion and facilities construction prior to the January 6, 1993. The purpose of subsection airport runway does not include facilities usually solely helicopters on other aircraft that take off and land vertically. Solid waste management facility was waste stored or disposed processed outdoors should not be located within 10,000 feet of any licensed operating airport runway or turbine-powered aircraft within 5,000 feet of any licensed operating air runway used within piston engine aircraft unless the application demonstrates the facility's design will and operating but does not pose a bird hazard aircraft. The application proposing to construct new landfills within 6-mile radius. Application proposing the construction of lateral existing landfills of the 5-mile radius of the licensed operating and running airport runway using a turbine-powered piston engine aircraft shall notify the effective airport, the Federal Aviation Administration, Florida Department of Transportation. Application filled with the department shall provide with the evidence such a notification. The department following facilities exempt with the requirements of subsection include solid waste management facilities with which receive the processes indoors with the waste and residual moved to closed and covered vehicles where putrescible waste is not processed, stored, or otherwise managed outdoors except for the inclusion of other covered in vehicles. Required materials processing facility, yard trashing processing facilities, yard trashing disposal facilities, ash monofills, construction demolition debris disposal recycling facilities that are not collateral with other solid waste disposal facilities acting on future receptacle waste. Any other solid waste management facility that does not accept future receptacle waste with disposal processing and recycling. Any other permitting addition with exemption subsection 2, the section following solid waste management facilities constructed and operated with an appropriate valid permit are not required to obtain the separate solid waste permit pursuant to chapter A. Solid waste combustors, air container incinerated with the constructed operated under the permit issued pursuant to Chapter 62, 296, and 62, 256 Florida Administration Codes. However, if the facility is storing or disposing of the solid waste on the site, the such storage or disposal is not addressed from the permit. The separate solid waste permit is required. The solid waste combustors constructed with the operated under the site certification pursuant to Chapter 403, Part 2. Florida State Statute, solid waste management facilities such as compositing facilities, waste tire processing facilities, soil treatment facilities, and used oil processing facilities, they are required to obtain the permits of Chapter 62, 702, 62, 722. Facility shall be retained with the operating with the solid waste permit, but also managed with significant quality and these other types of solid waste. Operator spotter training and special criteria. The owner and operator of the landfill, other solid waste management facilities required by the chapter to train operators and spotters shall not employ the person to perform nor may any person perform duties of an operator spotter with such a facility unless the person is trained operator, trained spotter. A facility may employ interim spotters, but only if they work under the direct supervision of the trained spotter and trained operator. A facility may employ intern operator in lieu of the trained operator for more than 3 consecutive months. Owners and operators of facilities shall ensure the operators employed with the facility are properly trained to operate the facility. The spotters then are properly trained to identify the properly managed unauthorized waste which is received at facility. Training planners should include as part of the permit application all training courses with the public and in-house must be pre-approved with the department pursuant to Section 403, 716, or 716 for the Florida State law. Such training materials should be made with the department over the pre-approved with the department, where the course materials are considered with the department rules applicable to solid waste in-house operated with the training program. It includes the examination required for the subsection must be administered with an independent third party, and other in-house operated training program must be administered with the trained operator with the in-house training spotter training program must be administered with the trained operator, the trained spotter with the training plan. Also recorded the documentation how the training plan is implemented shall be kept in the facility at all times and be available to the inspection of the department and staff. The department will maintain a list of the relevant training courses which are available in the state. In order to consider the training operators of the following facilities complete with the following training requirements as described in the facility operation plan. Operators of landfills operated with the construction, demolition, debris disposal facilities shall complete with the 24-hour initial training shall pass examination part of the train within 3 years after the passing examination. Every 3 years thereafter, the operator should complete an additional 16 hours of the continuing training. Operation waste processing shall complete 16 hours initial training shall pass the examination as part of the training within 3 years after the passing examination. Every 3 years thereafter, the operator shall complete an additional 8 hours of continued training. In order to be considered a trained or spotter shall complete with the 8 hours initial training course as described in the facility operating plan. Within 3 years after attending the initial training, every 3 years thereafter, the spotter shall complete an additional 4 hours of continued training. Spotter location each facility where the spotters are required shall include the operational plan with the number and location of the spotters. The procedure followed with the unauthorized waste is discovered. The spotters shall be substation where they can be inspected. Each of the shipment of the waste unauthorized waste. 2. If the spotters are located on the heavy equipment spreading the waste at the working face of the solid solid waste disposal or in a waste processing facility, operation plan shall be specifically provided with the following: the heavy equipment operator is trained with as an operator or spotter. Being unauthorized waste is discovered, the heavy equipment operator must either move the unauthorized waste away from the affected area with lateral removal of the proper management. The most stop operation notify the another person on the ground or another equipment will come to the active area, removing the unauthorized waste before the operation are resumed. Each load of the waste may be visually inspected unauthorized waste prior to being compacted, loaded into transferring vehicle. Notwithstanding the definition of Rule 62701-200 solely for the purpose of subsection operator means that as personnel, including the owner of the principal, engaged in charge of the actual operation, supervision, maintenance of the solid waste management facility, includes an on-site person in charge of the shift, the period of operation during any part of the day, such as the facility manager, supervisors, equipment operators. Does not include office personnel, laborers, equipment and operators not in supervisor capacity transporters, corporate directors, or elected officials, or other person in manageable roles, unless such person is directly involved on the on-site supervision and operation of a solid waste management facility. The trained operator may be performed duties of a trained spotter. For the purpose of this subsection, the intern operator means the person who has an opinion of the facility manager shown competency with the chosen occupation through the combination of work experience, education, training, who has at least 1 year experience with the facility and similar facilities. Intern operator must become trained operator within 1 year of the employment of the intern operator. For the purpose of subsection, the spotter means that any person employed with the solid waste facility whose job it is to inspect the incoming waste and identify the properly managed and any unauthorized waste that is received at the facility. For the purpose of the subsection, interim spotter means the person who is in the opinion of the facility manager shown in the competency chosen occupation through the combination of work experience, education, or training. The interim spotter must be trained spotter and trained operator within 3 months for the employment as an interim spotter. The emergency preparedness and response. Every permitted solid waste management facility shall have as part of the operational plan and contingency plan appropriate with the type of the facility the cover operational interpretation emergencies such as fires, explosions, natural disasters. Contingency plan shall be kept with the facility at all times, should be accessible. The facility operator of the contingency plan shall include designation of person responsible for the implementation of contingency plan. 2. The proposed notification appropriate emergency response person, including the department, the local government, local fire protection agency. The description of the emergency procedures to be followed, including location of firefighting equipment and explanation of how to use the equipment before the provision immediate shutdown of those parts of the facilities affected with emergency notification of customers and closure of the facility. Procedure for the notification of the neighbors, local government officials for the potential impact of the emergency of the provision, minimize those facility impacts. Every solid waste disposal facility shall have one sufficient equipment to implement the contingency plan, including equipment that's excavating, spreading, compacting, covering the waste, sufficient reserve equipment arrangements to obtain additional equipment within 24 hours of the equipment breakdown, communication equipment with emergency routine communications, fire protection, firefighting capabilities, adequate to control accidental burning of the solid waste in the facility. The fire protection includes the procedure notification of local fire protection agency for the assistant in the emergency. In the case of the fire with a waste pile in a solid waste management facility, all responsible efforts shall be made with the immediate extinguish and control of the fire. The fire cannot be extinguished and controlled within an hour. The owner and operator shall immediately implement the contingency plan which includes the part of the operational plan. 2. Cease acceptance of the waste of the disposal in those areas of the facility impacted by the fire. Notify the department of local government that has jurisdiction over the facility of the fire control plan with being implemented by the owner and operator. D. If the fire cannot be extinguished and controlled within 48 hours, the owner and operator shall notify the local fire protection agency seeking assistance. Shall also notify the local government any neighbors likely to be affected by the fire. Minimum groundwater criteria for the solid waste management facility constructed after January 6, 1993. Minimum groundwater criteria specified in Rule 62-520-400 shall apply with only outside the permitted zone of the discharge, notwithstanding the provision of 62-520. 462, 524, 420. However, the exceedance of the groundwater criteria within the permitted zone of the discharge shall continue to require the evaluation, monitoring, prevention, measuring in accordance with subsection 62-701-510-6 Florida Administration Codes. 18. Zone and discharge. The facility of the zone of the discharge shall be determined pursuant to Chapter 62-520 Florida Administration Code for all solid waste disposal facilities constructed after January 6, 1993. The zone of discharge shall not exceed 100 feet of the edge of those solid waste disposal units permitted to be constructed unless modified in accordance with Rule 62-520 470 Florida Administration Codes. Rulemaking Authority 403-061, 403-704, 403-716, Florida State Law Implemented 403-0877, 403-121-3E, 9B, 403-702, 403-704, 403-707, 403-716, Florida State History News, and January 6, 1993, amended January 2nd, 1994, May 19th, 1994, formerly 17-701-320, amended in December 23rd, 1996, May 27th, 2001, January 6th, 2010, August 12th, 2012, February 15th, 2015. We're going to read to 400, and then I'm going to cut the tape and then continue probably. I don't know. I'm going to try to read this in a couple days. 62-701-330. Landfill permit requirements. Applicability except otherwise specified provided with the hearing. The chapter applied with the solid waste disposal unit constructed to operate under the landfill permit issued after the January 6, 2010 issue includes the renewal of existing permits to all other landholders and landfill construction operation permits issued prior to January 6, 2010, which continue the conditions not in conformance with the chapter applied with the modification permit conform with the chapter district office of the department which is issued the permit. Submission shall occur by the time of the application for the new the existing permit before July 5th, 2010, whichever later for the purpose of the paragraph. The permit is issued by January 6th, 2010 is deemed to include the complete permit application received with the department prior to January 6th, 2010. Rule 62, 701, 400 through 420 shall not apply with any of the solid waste disposal any which of the construction complete with the prior to later of the date specified in paragraph B of the section subset. Such solid waste disposal unit may be operated until the filled in the line is permanent modified design dimensions which in such a unit in the line with the may include any future vertical expansion over the linear in accordance with the rule 62, 701, 430. Facility operating and pursuant with the consent order of the department in effect with the January 6, 2010 shall continue with the operating in accordance with the order and order expires and other terms provided with the landfill is in compliance with the term and the conditions of the order. Facility owner and operative to comply with any of the substantive terms and conditions of the order with the facility covered within the order and must comply with the operational closure of long-term care with the requirements for this chapter. Notwithstanding above, the owner and the operator of online class 3 landfill should be submitted to comply with the CCA management plan complies with the subsection 62, 701, 730, 20 foot administration goes not later than July 5th, 2010. Permitted footprint application seeking the permit for the line landfills are not limited or the amount of the area where they may need the disposal during the life of the permit. Rather, the application may seek the permit as a large disposal area that the entire display are subject to the following conditions. All of the information normally needed to permit the application shall be supplied for the entire area of the proposed footprint, or even only the smallest portion of the entire footprint will be constructed during the permit period. The public notice for the agency action shall address the entire area of the footprint identified with the permit application during the life of the permit. The application must not the applicant must notify the department in writing that before the beginning of the construction other than permitted phase of the landfill construction may proceed with further action being required of the department if it is in accordance with the conditions of the permit. However, the rule changes after the permit is issued after the effect of the design of the construction. The permanent modification is required upon the completion of the construction permitted phase of the landfill. The construction certification of construction completion documentation must be prepared for the phase of the submitted to the department for approval. The department approval in accordance with the rule in paragraph 62, 701, 320, 9B. Florida administration goes required before the applicant may be beginning in the use of the newly construction phase. The new permits will be required for using these phases. At the end of the permit period, the application may apply for the renewal of the permit. The information for the construction of the entire footprint will not have to be resubmitted, with no substantial changes proposed for the plan of design and future phases. However, the application will be required to update the operational plan for the landfill with water quality data to ensure the financial assurance of the cost estimate mechanism are current with provided with the reasonable assurance of the compliance with all the new rules and statutes that may be required for the facility, which were not in effect with any of the time of the previous permit was issued. Should there be any new line or requirements at the time of the permit renewal, the department will not impose them on the phases that are already constructed. When the permit is renewed, the public notice for the agency shall be addressed. The entire landfill footprint, the operational closure aspects of the landfill, the areas of the landfill where the liner has not been installed, the construction aspects of the landfill. 3. The permit application. The permit application for the landfill should be submitted in Form 62701 901 application for the construction, operating, modification, closed solid waste management facility. Florida State rules gateway to reference the ISP number, the reference 05031, effective date February 15, 2005. Hero and adopted and incorporated in the reference copies of this form available from the local district office of writing with the Department of Environmental Protection, Solid Waste Section 4565, 2600 Blairstone Road, Tallahassee, Florida 32399, 2400. Application shall meet requirements of Rule 62701320, but shall be included with the following specific requirements: a regional map aerial photograph from no more than 5 years old that also shows all the airports located within 5 miles of the proposed landfill. The application may show the airports and regional map required with the subparagraph 62701320 753 Florida Administration Code. It's a plot in the plan with the site of the showing of the dimension, location, proposed existing water quality monitoring wells and points, location, soil borings, proposed plan with the trenching, disposal areas, original elevations, proposed final contours, any filled waste disposal areas, fencing of the cross section shall be included with the plot plan. Separate sheets shall be showing both the original and proposed filled elevations. The scale of the plot of the plan shall not be greater than 200 feet to the inch. Topographical map that has the scale not greater than 200 feet to the inch of the 5-foot contour intervals of the plan shall show the proposed fill area and borough area and access road grades required for the proper draining of the cross section of the list and special drainage if necessary in the fencing equipment of facilities. A report when the current of the projected population area to be preserved at the proposed site, anticipated type of the annual quantity and the source of the solid waste expressed in tons, the planned activity life of the facility, the final design height of the facility, the maximum height of the facility during its operation, for the source, the type of the covered material, the hydrogeological geotechnical investigation required in Rule 62701 410 Florida Administration Code, the water quality and monitoring plan required in Rule 62701 510 Florida Administration Code, the evidence approved of the laboratory to do water quality monitoring in accordance with the rules, Chapter 62160 Florida Administration Code, the final assurance of documentation required in 62701 630 Florida Administration Codes, and operational plans drawing is required in subsection 62701 502 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 of Florida Administration Codes. Ruling Authority 403061, 403704, Florida State Law, implemented 403702, 403704, 403707, Florida History News. January 6, 1993, amended in January 2nd, 1994, formerly 177013330, amended in May 27th, 2001, January 6th, 2010, August 12th, 2012, and February 15th, 2015. All right, 62701-340. General criteria for the landfills. The performance and standard landfills should be designed, constructed, operated, maintained, closed, with monitored through its design period with the control of the movement of waste and waste can constitute into the environment so that the water quality and the standards and the criteria and the air quality standards will not be violated. The classification of landfills of solid waste disposal units are classified in accordance with the types of the waste received. Class 1 landfills are those that receive the Class 1 waste. Class 3 landfills are those which receive only Class 3 waste. The department shall accept that Class 3 landfills from some of the other requirements of the liners and latchet controls and water quality monitoring, subsection 62701-403, 403 and 4, 62701-510, but if the applicant demonstrates the notification significant threat in the environmental will the result of the exemption based upon the type of the waste received, the method of controlling type of the waste disposed, but the result of the hydrogeological geotechnical investigation required in Rule 62701-420 with the Florida Administration Code. Such demonstration must include the CCA treated wood plan management plan as described in subsection 62701-730 with the 20 of the Florida Administration Code. If the land will not be have constructed a liner system, the location requirements, the site shall provide with the structural support with the facility included the total waste to be disposed in the structure to be built in the site of the landfill solid waste disposal unit shall not be located within 100-year floodplain where it would be restrict the flow of the 100-year floodplain, reduce the temporary water storage capacity of the floodplain unless the compensation storage is provided with the result result in the waste washout of solid waste. The minimum horizontal separation between the waste deposit and landfill property boundary shall be 100 feet measured from toe to the proposed final cover slope. Rulemaking Authority 403-061, 403-704, Florida State Law implemented 403-0877, 403-702, 403-704, 403-707, Florida State History News, January 6, 1993, amended January 2nd, 1994, and May 19th, 1994, formerly 17-701-340, amended May 27th, 2001, and January 6th, 2010. Alright, then we're going to cover landfill construction requirements next time.